Hey guys, Reginald Duck here, back today with another deck profile. So for today I've got the Shark XYZ deck. It's a really cool deck, could end on some really crazy boards, so let's get into it. So for the main deck we've got 3 copies of Pulsar Shark. It's the one you want to open. It summons basically any fish from the deck, I think it is. Yeah, any fish. So targets itself usually summon something that isn't Pulsar Shark from the deck. But if you control another one, you can target that and summon a Pulsar Shark from the deck. Not that you probably would, but you can. Locks you into XYZs after you've used the effect, so instant fuse first, basically. Really, really great card. You have to play 3. 3 copies of Lantern Shark. This card's, again, it is a 3 of, but it's not as good. When the new support comes out, I'll probably drop this down to either 1 or 2. So it summons a fish from the hand, or a water from the hand, but it's quite limited. It can't summon... for example, it can't summon the Butuna full, and it can't summon itself, so if you open 2, it's a bit of a brick. But at the minute, you want all the fish you can get, because we are playing the fish heavy build, so 3 Lantern Shark. Got 3 copies of Silent Angler, one of the better extenders in the deck. If you control the water, you can spec it from hand, but then you can't spec from hand for the rest of the turn. So there's lots of ways to get around this, like using it as your last summon anyway, so then you can just really extend. You can search it off the guy that summons it from the grave, and it's really cool. Really like this card. For the spice, maybe a bit too spicy, 3 copies of Wind Up Shark. It makes sense in a way, because if you open 2, summon 1, spec the other. If you open the Buzzsaw Shark, you can actually summon a Wind Up Shark from deck. On the summon of that, summon this. You can reborn a Wind Up Shark to summon a Wind Up Shark. There's lots of different stuff you can do, so it actually makes a lot of sense, and it can become level 3 or 5, so if you are playing any of the other levels, because I think it's the Buzzsaw and the Lantern can also change level, so this card's really cool for that as well. So there you go, 3 copies of Wind Up Shark. Again, it's also a fish, which is really helpful for the next card, Xyz Remora. Really great card, so you can attach 2 XYZ material to summon this card, and then when it's summoned you can reborn 2 fish. So that's actually broken. So if you have any other extender and you're able to summon this, that's already 2 Bahamut, which is then 2 Toads plus the Utopic Draco. So it gets you 3 level 4s just by summoning itself. That's including itself. So absolutely broken. It can be searched off, I think it's Generation Force, but I don't play it because I think you need to control an XYZ for it. But 3 XYZ Remora. 3 Tenyu Spirit Shithana. It's okay. It's not a fish. It does make you play into Nibiru quite a lot, because this has to be your first summon, and then you have to instant fuse. Well, if you do have instant fusion, so that actually plays around Nibiru. But if you have this, and then for example like a Butuna full, before you hit Toad, you'll end up with 5 summons on the actual summon of the Bahamut. So it can play you into Nibiru, but we do actually play a way out of that as well. So that's really good. 3 copies of Butuna full. I don't know how I feel about this card. It's obviously great, but I do hate drawing it sometimes, because if you've already got your starters, this is just a starter, but you end on 6 summons rather than 5. So again, it loses to Nibiru if you have any extenders that are Shithana or Instant Fusion that you really need to get off. Also, with it being level 1, doesn't have much synergy in that way, but also it can just be 3 extra copies of whatever you need. So it is a really cool card. Hopefully it gets a reprint soon, because it is very overpriced. I think these are like 10 each, which is ridiculous, but you know, it is what it is. And then for the hand traps, we've got 2 copies of Ash. Really, really great. It's quite good in the format, especially against like all the rogue at my locals, and then I am playing the cross out as well, so I don't want to get ashed in this deck, so I can always cross it out. 2 copies of Veiler, exactly the same. Just if someone Veilers you, cross out. If not, you've got a Veiler in your deck, so it's fine. Then lastly, for the hand traps, got 1 Nibiru. This is literally just for cross out. It's a good hand trap, but sometimes you will end up on 6 summons before you can summon Toad, so you just want to be able to banish this, stop the Nibiru. Really great. And obviously if you draw it, at least you've got Nibiru. 3 copies of Crossout. I find this really good, because you can even if you know you're going first in like game 2 or 3, for example, if you think they're going to play Dark Ruler, you can always put one copy of Dark Ruler in your deck and cross it out. So like they can't break your board if you got like triple Toad or whatever, and you've got this to back it up. You could do the same with droplets, but I don't have a droplet, so you know. So 3 cross out, 2 copies of Ready Fusion and 1 Instant Fusion. These are exactly the same card in this deck really, because you only summon in a normal monster anyway. It's the exact same one. It can come up if you can activate both in one turn. If, for example, you put back your rare fish with a toad, you can summon it out with the different name, because these are both hard ones per turn, but it's never actually happened, so just keep an eye out for that. 2 copies of White Mirror. This card is so good, and then you play it at 3 and it's terrible. So you do want to see it, but also you don't want to brick on it. So basically, it reborns a fish, then adds a fish with the same name from your deck to your hand. So you can reborn a Silent Angler, then just summon another Silent Angler that you've just searched. So it's really, really great. It is, again, hard ones per turn. 1 Desires, because they hit Desires for some reason, which is pretty brutal, but the deck's still really good, so I can't complain. So just the 1 Desires, there's nothing you really worry about banishing, because you play 3 out of most of stuff anyway, except hand traps. 1 Called By, again, you just don't want to get Ash Blossomed at all, it's not fun. So 1 Called By. 2 Gozen, because the Stealth Kraken makes all their guys water, so you just flip this up as soon as they summon a guy, and if they're not playing a water deck they can't really summon, so it really stuns them. And then lastly I've got 2 Imperm, so I lied before and I said that was the last of the hand traps. Again, really strong trap card, also it's a cross out target, so just helps in your grind games, helps against whatever rogue decks you're facing. So that's it for the main deck. Onto the extra deck, quite simple. We've got 3 copies of Bahamut Shark. I feel you do need to play 3 because you can go through 3 in your first turn if you've got a good hand, so you don't want to be limited by only playing 2. Really, really great. If you can go for a Toad and a Kraken, well, a Bahamut and a Kraken, it's probably not worth it. You could rather go for 2 Bahamut, get 2 Toads, and then overlay these for a Utopic Draco, so you actually get a 3rd negate for free. So 3 Bahamut, 3 copies of Toad. It's the reason to play the deck. Obviously it's an Omni negate, it sets whatever it negates, and then when it dies it can add back a water. It can add back other Toads, it can add back the Pulsar Shark, whatever you need, any extenders. It can put back your rare fish for another instant fusion play, for example. Really, really great. 2 copies of Stealth Kraken. Absolutely broken, non-targeting destruction, makes all their guys water and it floats. So really, really cool. This card is so fun as well. And when it dies, you can summon out a Stealth Kraken spawn, which is not as good, but when it dies it brings back a Stealth Kraken. So it's cool in its own way. It can destroy waters, but if you've not got a Kraken, they probably don't have waters. So it's okay, it still floats. And also, when it attaches a material from grave, you can actually attach a Toad, and then when it dies, the Toad will trigger. So that's really cool. We've got 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. It's just a really good card, obviously being water as well, and it'll gain 2/2. It'll be on 2/2 because it'll gain the 500 from having water materials, so that's really good. Can shut down if you're not sure what you're facing. Rather than going for the 3rd Toad, you might just want to go for a Dweller, so it's obviously just sort of locks them out. Then for the Utopic Future package, we've got Future and Draco Future. This literally just slap on top of 2 Bahamut Sharks that have used their effects, and then you just summon this probably in defense position because it can't destroy by battle anyway. Detach, negate a monster effect, and steal it if it's still on field. If it's on field, 3k. It's just a free negation because you've already used the Bahamuts to get the negations, so it's just extra. 1 Vespinato. You actually need this card a lot, so a lot of times you'll have 1 Bahamut Shark, and you just need to put this on top. So then the Remora can detach 2 materials, which will then summon itself and then summon the 2 fish back. Whereas otherwise you just have a Bahamut with 1 material, so this can just go straight on top of it. It does piercing damage, but that's never really come up yet. Just really helps your first turn play. 1 copy of Zeus. You are playing an XYZ deck. You can't really make it under Gozen match, but other than that, it really doesn't matter. Sometimes simplified game state is just incredible. It's 3k and it just nukes the board. Sometimes up to twice. So really cool. And then lastly, the one rare fish. Kind of wish you didn't have to play it because extra deck space is really tight. But obviously you do, because your instant fusion is a really great starter. Again, it's a fish as well, so you can, if you use this as one of your starters, then you can bring it back off XYZ Remora, which is really cool because it was properly fusion summoned, it wasn't special summoned. Really cool. Yeah, so that's it for the extra deck. And for the side deck, we've got 2 more Nibiru, because if you're facing ridiculously combo heavy decks, you just want to be able to just break the board, because you don't want to have to try and get through it on your turn. So 2 more Nibiru, 2 draw, because you don't want some crazy combo deck searching a load. So again, it's just like your more powerful hand traps in the side, whereas your more generic ones are in the main. You've got 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier, because I think it's really good this format against, like, well, just again against Rogue, but also against like your top decks. You just want to be able to stun them out. You can, it's like Scythe, but not as oppressive, but also it's a lot easier to activate because you can't really play Scythe in this deck. 2 copies of Evenly. Again, it's just a great going second card. If you're really not sure like what to side in, like hand trap wise, you could always go for the just draw evenly, break the board sort of style, which I always like 'cause it's a really sacky card. So 2 Evenly. Got 2 copies of White Howling. If you control a water, you can banish a spell from your opponent's grave and then negate that spell for the rest of the turn. Oh, negate. Sorry. And for the rest of the turn, negate spell effects on your opponent's field. So it's really great against Striker, which there is a lot of at my locals. So if they engage, you can just like banish their engage and then like stop them from adding spells for a turn. Sort of break the cycle. Really good. 2 Lightning Storm. Same reasoning as Evenly. Just I wanted to play 2 and 2 because I wasn't really sure which one's better. So 2 Lightning Storm. 1 Duster. Just Lightning Storm by another name a lot of times, but really good. I love this card. The fact you can play it when you have a board is ridiculous. And then lastly, got the 1 copy of Dark Ruler just for the crossout designator. So if they try and Dark Ruler you, you flip up your crossout designator, you banish your Dark Ruler, and your board's safe. So you've still got all your toad negates and everything. Whereas this would just completely ruin your day otherwise. So that's it for the side deck. So this has been my Shark deck profile. It's a really fun deck. It can be quite budget. There's a couple of things like the Beautiful Princess and the Rare Fish. They're a bit expensive, but if you've already got them, or you know you can find them in like Commons bulk somewhere, definitely worth picking up. The deck's really fun, and they hopefully will get a reprint soon. You can play without it, but it's not as consistent. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.